Hey everyone, you're watching KTAL News Now. I'm your host, Anthony Mocklin, and today is Tuesday, which means it is Tech Tuesday. We'll be covering all kinds of technology news, as well as new releases of Google's phone lines and video game related news that is happening all throughout from now until Sunday at Gamescom. But our first topic of the day was really interesting to me because it involves a school in Gary, Indiana that is now using AI teachers in classrooms, which as soon as I read that, I was like, what is going on? So I wanted to take a little bit more of a look at it. And the school district says that the classrooms are using AI or virtual teachers due to a teacher shortage at the school to try to compensate and allow instructors to be in every classroom. And the school district said that while there is a virtual teacher, that's not the only figure of authority that's in there. It's a virtual AI teacher, but with a human assistant just to make sure that everything goes smoothly, I guess. But yeah, that was really interesting to me. If we have Kristen Farr, who gives us a more detailed look on how exactly that is going to work and how it's being implemented in classrooms.
Gary school officials say that the first day of school is going well, and that includes those virtual teachers. These teachers come from a company called Proximity, and they're filling that gap that not only the district but also the country is dealing with when it comes to teacher shortages. More than 4,000 students are in the district, but only a small percentage will be instructed by a virtual teacher. For right now, a little less than 13 virtual teachers are teaching subjects throughout the district. District officials say as more and more teachers get their teaching credentials and licenses in order, they will replace those virtual instructors who are aided by teaching assistants who are physically in the classroom.
Each classroom where there's a virtual teacher has a facilitator. That facilitator has gone through a day's worth of training with Proximity, and in that training they learned very specifically what their role would be in supporting the virtual teacher while she is online.
We are still hiring. Hey, we're hiring. We are still hiring. We have people in the hopper right now, but we have to do background checks. We have to make sure that they pass drug tests. We're not just going to put anybody off the street in front of our children and expect things to go well.
Of course, we want what's best for the kids, and we know that in-person instruction is what's best. But at the same token, what I do not want is our kids to miss out on classes and opportunities and requirements because of the lack of the teachers in place.
The union representing the teachers in the Gary School District told a public forum recently that this is union busting when it comes to these virtual teachers. But both sides agree, that means the district and the union, that physical teachers are the best in the classroom when it comes to instruction for students.
Now, I understand that it does suck that there is a teacher shortage so that these classrooms are not being adequately filled with instructors and educators for these children. But at the same time, it does feel like this is not the, right way to go about it, considering you're not getting that human interaction as you would with a normal teacher. I mean, some of my fondest memories in the classroom is with actual teachers. I don't see how this can kind of work out or have a positive impact until they get actual teachers in there, but we'll see. I mean, there was a study from the National Center for Education Statistics that recently published their study regarding the use of AI in the classroom and students using AI in order to help them study and learn and plan and everything. There was a survey conducted among public school leaders where 42% of them saw it as a favorable outcome in terms of giving them better critical thinking skills and the effectiveness of, them retaining the material, which I don't really see how they came to that conclusion because, 31% of them found it as an unfavorable thing, especially considering that there was recent studies regarding ChatGPT where it showed that it is effectively making people dumber because you're asking a language assistant to a language learning assistant to think for you, essentially, so you're not getting, I don't understand where those critical thinking skills that they think they're getting are coming from. But as far as teachers using AI to teach a class or implement a lesson plan, 69% of public school leaders saw it as a favorable thing, while only 13% saw it as an unfavorable impact. And they cited the reasonings for this, and then they said around like 72% of them stated that it makes life easier for them in terms of, like I said, planning a course or having a set schedule throughout the day that they want to get to regarding certain topics. And 67% of them found that it would make them more effective educators. So it goes back to the way that AI, especially models like ChatGPT, which people seem to be using for everyday life now, it is statistically and scientifically making people dumber. So I don't understand how this is being seen as a good thing. At the end of the day, you need human interaction. You need human beings to come from a personal standpoint, to have emotions, to be able to connect with from a human to a human, just to have that connection with someone, not somebody that doesn't even exist on a screen. So I don't think this is the right way to go about this, but that's just me. But regarding phone use in classroom, that is another big thing that people are worried about, especially with, like I said, ChatGPT, where students are using that to either write their essays for them or take their tests and give them the answers, and they don't even have to. It's essentially like an open book test, but they're not actually learning any or retaining any of the information. But over half of public school leaders view phones in classrooms as a negative thing, and to where they say it negatively impacts their academic performance. And over 2/3 of those people cited that it has a negative impact on mental health and attention span, which goes back to my point earlier on how a study came out that shows that it is affecting those two things, especially attention span and critical thinking skills, where they're not thinking for themselves, they're relying on a robot to think for them. And especially in the classroom, where it is very crucial that you're learning and retaining information that can help set you up for success later on the line, it is very crucial that we are not allowing this to happen in classrooms. And one school in Atlanta, Texas is trying to do just that. The state of Texas just signed a phone ban that needs to be implemented by September. And Atlanta High School in Texas, they just got back to school and they have already implemented that ban in classrooms. And KTAL's Grace Jensen has more on how they feel about it and how they expect it to go.
Texas House Bill 1481 was signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott on June 20th, prohibiting the use of personal communication devices by students on school property. This includes any device that isn't assigned by the district for students to use. Some schools in the state have similar cell phone policies that were implemented in previous school years, but at Atlanta High School, this is all new for them.
They have three choices. They can leave it at home, they can leave it in their car if they drive, or we have lockers set up and we give them locks.
Despite it being so early in the school year, Principal Reinhardt is hopeful the new policy will allow students to be more present in the learning environment, with the distractions of phones being gone.
Students are so used to being on their phone that sometimes they do get distracted, or if they hear it buzz or something, they're paying attention to that more than they are to the lesson.
And to 9th grade English teacher at Atlanta High, she's seeing a difference in her students already.
What I have noticed in my classroom is that I see more kids talking to each other, and I do see that they're more focused in class, and we're getting more stuff done without the kickback of the distractions.
Here at Atlanta High School, teachers and administrators say that this new cell phone ban is beneficial for everyone on campus. But what do the parents, and more importantly, what do the students have to say about this new cell phone policy? Shelly Ensley has a 9th grader at Atlanta High, and her only concern is knowing if after-school activities will end later than normal. But she trusts the school will provide proper communication in those cases. On the plus side, she appreciates the peace and quiet during the school day.
I don't have to worry about one of my kids calling and saying, bring me lunch. Hey, can I go home? That part is extremely nice because that gets old.
And to senior Kirsten Underwood, she's on the fence about how she feels about the new rules. She understands and sees the benefits, but it feels like she is missing out on an important part of being a senior.
It also sucks we don't get to have memories, especially being a senior. I don't get to have my memory of my senior year in my phone and stuff.
A common concern brought up in states with bans on cell phone use in schools is communication between parents and students in emergency situations. But Principal Reinhardt says they have a solution already in place.
If the parent has to get a message to the student, they can call the office and we'll get the message to the student. If it's an emergency, we'll get it to them right away.
The Texas Education Agency website states that cell phone policies must be put in place no later than September 18th, with exceptions written for students with documented medical needs or with an individualized education plan. Reporting in Atlanta, Texas, Grace Jensen, NBC6 News.
And speaking of phones outside of the classroom, Google is about to have their Made by Google 2025 event starting tomorrow in New York City, and it's expected that they will unveil their new line of Pixel phones and other Pixel devices, specifically the Pixel 10 phone, which is the latest in the Pixel series. And then as far as the watches and the earbuds go, they're expected to have upgraded models of each of those. But it's not really going to be this big reveal because essentially the entire thing got leaked online, all the way down to the colors of the models and the specs, the prices. Everything got released early, despite the event still being tomorrow, August 20th. And the event is still expected to be pretty big. They have a whole cast of guest stars, including Jimmy Fallon, NBA player Steph Curry, F1 driver Lando Norris, and the Jonas Brothers. So they're expected to have a huge event still, despite everything coming out already, like I said. But as far as the Pixel 10 goes, the phone line is expected to have 4 different models. They'll have the base Pixel 10 model, as well as the Pixel 10 Pro, the Pro XL, and then the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, which is very exciting. It's another line or addition to the fold phone fad that's going on, where Apple is expected to release their foldable phone within the next year or so. But as far as the base Pixel 10 model goes, it is expected to unveil the triple camera feature on the back of the phone, which features a 5x telephoto lens. But unfortunately, the downside of this is that they are likely to make downgrades to the ultra-wide and main cameras of the model, in order to compensate for that. So unfortunately, it looks like it will be a worse camera overall in terms of using just the main camera compared to the Pixel 9. So that's sort of the trade-off with that, unfortunately. But they are expected to unveil wireless charging on the back of the phone, similar to the iPhone. The iPhone has their MagSafe model, where it's kind of like a magnetic ring on the back of their phone that you can attach to a wireless charger and place it on there to charge it with no cords, no plugging in or anything. But Google is expected to unveil their Pixel Snap, which is, I guess, their version of a MagSafe model on the new Pixel 10s. And for the Pro Fold model of the Pixel 10, there's rumors that it is going to be the first foldable phone from any manufacturer with an IP68 rating. And you're like, what the heck is that? That means that it is going to be the first foldable phone with total protection from dust, particles, and have water resistance. So it will be completely covered, completely protected, and won't absorb any dust or particles that will get in there and mess up the phone in any way. Again, these are just rumors. Like I said, the whole thing got leaked online, so if it comes to fruition, don't act surprised. We knew this already, but that is the expectation that they will announce that tomorrow. As far as prices go of the Fold phone and just the line in general, it is expected to be the same exact prices as the Pixel 9 in the previous model, where the base Pixel 10 will go for $799, and then the 10 Pro Fold will go for $1799. The only change to prices is expected in the 10 Pro XL, where it is assumed to be $100 more than the 9 Pro XL, and in order to compensate for this, they are offering 256 gigabytes of storage compared to 128, and that price is $11.99. That is the only price increase that we know of. Again, they could have some surprises tomorrow, but that is not likely one of them. But as far as the other devices go, specifically the watches, they are expected to unveil the Pixel Watch 4 in two different sizes of 41 millimeters and 45 millimeters. And this one was interesting because instead of, if you have an Apple Watch or a smartwatch, you'll know that the charger is usually on the back of the actual screen, and you just kind of like place it there on the charger to charge it at night. But this charger specifically, they're making it to where you can charge it on the sides of the screen, to where if you have it on its side laying down and the screen is pointing towards you, it creates a sort of nightstand or like a clock effect while it's on its side, which I thought was pretty cool, even on like a small screen like that. But what was also interesting about having it being able to charge on the sides now is that is apparently going to be easier to repair, but just how much easier is still unclear. We'll know that tomorrow during the event. But this price is also the same as its predecessor, where it runs for $349 for the Wi-Fi version and then $399 for an LTE-enabled watch. And then as far as the Pixel Buds go, the earbuds, they are unveiling the next in its A series with the Pixel Buds 2A. It has been 4 years since the last Pixel Buds A series released for $99. And it looks a lot like the Buds Pro 2 in terms of, if you're going off of the leaked images that released and resurfaced, but it also brings sound upgrades where it'll have noise cancellation and spatial audio, but it will not have either the Silent Seal 2.0 technology in the Pros or the lack of head tracking, which again was in the Pro 2 models. So we'll either have one or the other that will not be part of it in order to compensate for it not being a Pro model. So in terms of overall features and value, I think the Pro still beats it, especially in battery life, because the battery life is still going to lag behind the Pro 2, because the new earbuds will have 7 hours of battery life in just the buds, but if you count the case that they're in and use that to charge them, it will come to a total of 20 hours worth of battery life, but it's still less than the Pro 2. There's no price on this yet, but there was a price in euros that got leaked where it was priced for 149 euros, or roughly 175 US dollars, but it is still expected to be around 149 US dollars come the reveal. And the Pixel 10, the 10 Pro, and the Pro XL will all go on sale later this month on August 28th, next week, at the end of next week. But the 10 Pro Fold, the Watch 4, and the Buds 2A are delayed a little bit longer. Those don't release until October 9th. So be sure to tune in if you want to check out any surprises. There is some things that we are unsure of that have not been leaked. The thing that comes to mind is AI-driven features, especially in the watch and the phones, where everything is essentially AI-enabled or has AI features to create schedules or just have normal quality of life stuff. So expect to see that has not been leaked in tomorrow's reveal. But like I said, everything already got leaked in terms of the core aspects of it. Like, there's already the different colors that the phones will be in, as well as the specifications of each model, and all the way down to the prices like I laid out. But that's a very exciting. Another thing that's really exciting that's happening right now, actually, is Gamescom 25. They are having their opening night tonight that started at 1 p.m. today, and they had their pre-show all the way at 12:30 p.m. today. And Gamescom is a global event where they have several different game announcements, new trailers for games, as well as gameplay reveals. And the official schedule for Gamescom is tomorrow, Wednesday, August 20th, all the way through Sunday, August 24th. but today is their opening night where they have a bunch of different extra reveals that they have in store. And one of those is Hollow Knight Silksong, which is the sequel to the 2017 game Hollow Knight. It is being made by Team Cherry. They are developing it, and they announced earlier this morning, actually, whenever I was planning the show today, I got that notification and had to rearrange everything because they announced that they are having a special announcement on Thursday, August 21st at 9:30 a.m. Central Time on Team Cherry's YouTube page regarding Hollow Knight Silksong. It has been one of the most anticipated and hyped games in recent memory. People have been clamoring for a release date or just something from them because it has been 7 years in development for them. It was announced 7 years ago, and people have just been so hungry for this. Any little bitty crumb of information regarding this game. So it's very exciting that we are finally getting some news this Thursday, like I said, at 9:30 a.m. on Team Cherry, the developer's YouTube page. So be sure to tune in for that. I know I will be. I know that at Gamescom this year, Microsoft already said that it would be available to play on their new ROG Ally handheld Xbox consoles that they are revealing. Xbox, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. They are also wanting to get into the handheld console game. Sony already, it was in there, as well as Nintendo Switch, which kind of set the precedent of at least modern handhelds. I know that PlayStation used to have the PlayStation Portable and the Vita, so that was way ahead of its time. But now that handhelds are all the rage, there are so many PC handhelds to even count right now with the Steam Deck. If you are a PC gamer specifically, I have one. It is one of the best purchases I have ever made, in my opinion, because you can take your entire Steam library for the most part on the go, which is really, really nice. I have my Nintendo Switch 2 now, but I normally use that for their first-party games and Nintendo-specific games because I just prefer games on Steam better because the Switch 2 might have better specs than the Steam Deck, but I already have that large library of Steam games that are in my backlog that are begging me to play them. So I need to get through all those, but it's great to have the Steam Deck to do that on the go instead of having to be wired up to a computer and just be fully present and just like sitting up the whole time. You can lounge around, you can play on the couch, on the go, like in the car, like anything. Like it's a really, really nice feature that they have with that. But in terms of Hollow Knight Silksong specifically, which, like I said, is a very, very highly anticipated sequel to Hollow Knight, it's what's known as a Metroidvania, which is a combination of the Metroid games and the Castlevania games. And those games are these 2D side-scrolling games that have this large interconnected world where a lot of the areas of the world are usually blocked off early on until you find a certain item or get a certain upgrade to unlock them. It really encourages exploration of the world, and it just shows off that interconnectedness of it, especially in Hollow Knight, where if you look at the map, it shows everywhere you've been and what everything connects to. It's just this giant world that is waiting for you to explore. If there's a place you haven't been yet, it'll usually have a part of the map that's like cut off, and it looks like it can keep going. So it encourages you to check every nook and cranny in there to find the atmosphere around you, which specifically in Hollow Knight, the atmosphere is very gloomy, very dark, but it also is very fun gameplay-wise and mechanically because there's a lot of boss fights and enemies that you come across that drop items that you can collect and everything, so it's a very fun experience. So I am super, super excited for Hollow Knight Silksong, as there are a lot of people in the gaming community. It almost doesn't even feel real, like it feels like a joke, because it's been so long since we've been waiting for any bit of news about this at all. So the fact that it could finally release this year, and it likely will, it like I said, it feels like a dream come true, and I don't think it still has hit me yet, because I'm super, super excited for this, like I said. But that's all I have today for Tech Tuesday. Be sure to tune in to Gamescom, which is going on from right now all the way through Sunday, where there will be several different game releases as well as a live performance from the composer of Claire Expedition 33. And that if you've seen the show and you've tuned into previous Tech Tuesdays, you'll know that Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is my personal game of the year this year. I genuinely think it is a masterpiece. Top to bottom, it is one of the best games I've ever played, both narratively, atmospherically, like story, writing-wise. The music is among the one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. Like, no joke. It is life-changing experience. I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out yet. It is a turn-based RPG, but if you don't like turn-based games, I promise you'll like this one because they make it so engaging because it's not just you attack, then they attack, and you just take all the damage. You can actively time your parries and your dodges in order to deal damage back to them, so you're really being able to damage them back-to-back instead of having to wait their turn and then you attack and then, So it's a very intuitive and interactive battle system, even though it is technically turn-based. But I highly recommend giving it a chance. Like I said, it is a life-changing experience. I've already bought so much merch for it. I have a flag in my room already because the whole premise of it is the expeditions. They plant their flag everywhere they go. And the specific expedition number 33 is on a flag in my room, and it looks so good. And like I said, I can't hype it up enough. I really, really hope it wins Game of the Year this year because it was made by such a small team, and the reason it's called Expedition 33 is because it was made by a core team of only 33 people, where you have most AAA studios now making games with thousands of people, and it's just a lot of wasted resources, and just that's where you get these bloated budgets where these AAA games cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and most of them still release very buggy and glitchy, and it never lives up to the hype now. So I'm hoping that we get a sort of renaissance with these smaller studios, these indie studios, to where they lead the charge, because especially with the prices of games going up as well for big studios, the standard now is $70, and in Nintendo's case, $80 for the new Mario Kart. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 was only $50 this year, and it has already gone on sale a few times, but it is absolutely worth every penny. Like I said, I went on just a huge rant about it, so you could tell just how good this game is. I can't recommend it enough. But like I said, that was it for me from Tech Tuesday. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for an edition of Wellness Wednesday on KTAL News Now, which streams every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. You can find all of our previous episodes on our YouTube at KTAL News. But like I said, we stream on KTALnews.com every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. I'm your host, Anthony Mocklin. Have a great rest of your day. Be sure to stick around, like I said, and thank you for joining us.